Exactly. No, I want to say that I think that this is the point you're raising is really at the core of how we do science, right? So I don't think that this point has to do with aphantasia only. Somehow, what we've been doing in trying to understand aphantasia or visual mental imagery is create experiments from the point of view of typical imagers, right? And create experiments that have that assumption baked in what the task does and or task requires, right? So it was fascinating for me 2 3 4 years ago to realize that, hey, that maybe we're doing this wrong, which is what science does every day. I mean, all models are wrong, right? Some of them are useful, and I think that we just hit 2 3 years ago in the literature, we hit this wall, or we realized that, hey, our experiments are great, but they have some assumptions about to complete the experiment, you will need mental imagery. So if you don't have mental imagery, you should fail at it, right? And this assumption was, let's say, destroyed or was false, right? Or was proven to be false by individuals with aphantasia that perform very often perfectly well or comparable with a comparable performance with than typical imagers. And that was again another confidence boost in my research or in my role as a researcher, because it told me, well, there's the need for even more work. I mean, tell me that there's more science to do, and I'm in. So that was
it,
just like, oh, fantastic, we have even
it
more
really,
things to do.
to me, it really raises the question, like, what is mental imagery good for then? Like, is it actually mental imagery the source of the problem solving or the task completion? Or is it, just a layer or a filter on top that, is part of that kind of conscious perceptual experience that people are having? I remember from the very, I was part of that original 2015 paper with Dr. Zeman, and the very first experiments we ever did, for those who haven't heard this before, is they asked, like, can you count the number of windows in your house? It was assumed that the only way you could answer that question is by visualizing the house and picturing where all the windows were. It's like, I can do that just conceptually. It maybe takes me a little bit longer, and I think that that's what some of the research shows, that sometimes in some tasks aphants take a little bit longer, and there's a bit of a confidence gap. I've seen that in a couple of papers too, that if you ask aphants, like, how confident are you that your answer was correct, sometimes they'll score a little bit less confident, but the accuracy is the same. So the end result is the same. The other one that always sticks out to me was, I was asked, what's a darker shade of green? Is it a blade of grass or an evergreen tree? Again, the assumption was you visualize these two things, you compare them side by side, and you pick which one's darker. Again, this information though must be encoded in other ways, because I can answer that question easily without needing that perceptual experience. It's another one of those interesting examples.